Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It's just gone a couple of minutes past midday here, making it a few minutes past 1100 UTC. A big shout out to everybody watching the stream live today, and a bigger shout out to everybody watching it on recording as well. We had about 10,000 of you from Monday's show, about 3,500 of you live, and a lot more of you watching this on recording. And I want to just extend a lot of love and thanks to all of you for listening in and listening to me ramble on about these markets. So what have we got in store today? Well, Wednesday is typically our alt request day. So already had some requests come in from some of you wonderful people, either through Twitter or through the Bird Nest. So we want to take a look today at obviously Ethereum, which we're starting with here. Plans already kind of shared on Twitter this morning, but I am going to roll through these with you as well. Credi, you know, a very, very early stage investor in Credify Finance. I want to take a look at that with you today as well, because I think that's coming into an interesting level where I'm looking to add again. Vert AI, one of my biggest conviction AI plays at the moment as well. So I want to run through that. But today is all about you lot. So let me know in the chat what you would like me to take a look at, and we will make time to do so. Quick sip of tea before that goes insipid and cold, and let's get underway. So, up to 100k subscribers, are you? Is that you, Evil Gemini, or is that the Bird Nest? Because it'd be awesome either way. Calvin, hello, mate. Obviously, Burnt, my friend, how are you doing? And everybody else as well. Remember, guys, girls, and if you do hear me say guys, I do mean everyone, men, women, LGBTQ+, whatever. Yeah, very, very inclusive show, this. So just let me know the tickers in the comments and we'll take a look for you. We will take a look at Solana as well, because that beast has just been an absolute monster. So let's not mess around. Why do I like ETH at these levels? Quite simply, Burnside, hello, mate. Good to see you. For me, I hope so, mate. That would be a treat. I just hit 10k on my Twitter account. So again, actually, I think ticked over 10.1k. So really pushing the bounds of that. I just telling Crypto Bird this morning that I've only got 699,990 more to go to match him. So the challenge is on, ladies and gents. So please smash the likes for me and give me a follow on Twitter. Let's see if we can catch him up. You know, tortoise and the hare thing. But honestly, if you're not following him, you really should be. He's really, really one of the best in the space. Great question, Crypto Maverick. Love it. A16Z. So for those of you that don't know this, well, I know it's AI16Z, but I did a little bit of work with Andreessen Horowitz back in the day. Very, very light touch, just assigned in terms of a consultancy program with them. And I have to say that they are one of the most impressive funds out there, in my opinion. Very, very forward thinking. If you haven't, I would recommend reading Horowitz's book. He's got a couple, actually, depends on what you're doing. One of the best management books I ever read actually comes from him as well. But super, super bright, big risk takers, but unbelievable knowledge of tech. So we will absolutely AI16Z. So far we're going to look at ETH, Credi, Vert AI, Solana, and AI16Z. If you've got any others, guys, please do let me know. Now, Crypto Maverick has a good question here. Is it possible to touch 3,200 within this week? What I would say, mate, and this really isn't as twattish a reply as it sounds, and we'll look at the technicals behind it, is in crypto, most things are possible, especially in a bull market. So actually, before we dive into ETH, let me just go over a couple of things here, right? What do we want to see for prosperous bull market conditions? We want to see gold down, all right? Now, obviously, it doesn't really paint the best picture on the weekly, right? But if we can see it on here on the daily, for example, it looks even better. On the 4 hour, let me turn the session breaks off for you. Yeah, I mean, look, short gold from here, Magic Arrow always does its tricks, right? Looking here in terms of why was I bearish through here? It doesn't look too good, does it? But I'm looking at this as an intraday trader. I like the expansion to the downside here. I thought with the corrective move would come. Spike that we had up here, right? Look, expansion to the highs, nice few days of long in this, but then ultimately when we've broken down over here, we've lost this again. We're now moving into bearish territory. Why am I interested in gold? Because it's a very, very good risk off proxy, all right? Typically, if the markets are uncertain, or if we're moving to a risk-off environment, then gold typically pumps. Very, very difficult period for the correlations, actually, because typically we'd be looking at gold being down, we'd be looking at the dollar index pulling back, which we've got. And I like to see a VIX, a lower VIX, which is the volatility index, all right? So this below 20 is good for me. Like to see this falling. Cobra Kai forever, love it. Yeah, certainly, mate. CRV. Right, so what does this mean? Well, it means that actually this is a pretty good picture for risk assets at the moment, all right? The fact that we've got oil as well, we won't really go into that. There's a little bit of a different correlation with that, right? But again, oil coming down, you know, futures moving up, a little bit of a bubble being created at the moment in technology stocks, I think, in my opinion, not just my opinion of some top macroeconomists that I very, very highly respect. But equity markets are up, right? Which is what we want to see. Look at this pumping, right? Look at this yesterday. We run an intraday trading club, which we very originally I called Trade Club. There's a little bit of a play to Fight Club, except the true is opposite. Nobody talks about Fight Club. First rule of Trade Club is everyone can talk about Trade Club, all right? Now, this thing is really, really tearing faces. Look at this. Let me zoom in for you here, how close we came to target yesterday. This wick here, just coming up short. When you leave failure swings like this, it's just a great opportunity for the market to reset. And why am I telling you this? Because it's relevant for all assets, not just crypto. So if you're just sitting there feeling horny for crypto, you really need to expand your horizons, look at traditional markets as well and what they can tell us. If risk is good here, yeah, then risk is typically good across the board. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general is kind of a beta risk asset. So what does that mean? It means that if we look at the NASDAQ here and we want to put the price of Bitcoin across this, we can see that it's pretty well correlated, right? Yeah. So what do we see here? Risk markets moving up. Yeah, that's the NASDAQ. This is Bitcoin coming back down. So just, you know, there is a direct correlation, especially at the moment, a very strong one with the S&P 500 and Bitcoin. Not all crypto, obviously. You know, there's always that big argument around Bitcoin. Is it digital gold, etc.? No, it trades like a risk asset at the moment. But, you know, I fully understand and respect people's positions that are looking for it to become that, which I think it probably will over time become a store of value. In my opinion, it's not quite there yet. So good risk markets. And by risk markets, I'm focused on the equity markets. So especially the indexes, S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, all right? While they're prosperous and we've got things like gold down, we've got the VIX nice and cooling off, you know, we've got the dollar index heading lower. For me, it just, you know, just looks good. BTCD is in the wrong place, of course it is. But as we're looking at this as well, we can see a little bit of a pop here on Bitcoin dominance. Nothing really to worry about. Look, massive sell-off down here. Broke a multi period here in coming back from November, December last year. Yeah, this trend line, it's not the best trend line in the world. It's purely indicative for how I use it. There are some wonderful traders out there who use it a lot better than me. Just a couple that come to mind: Trader SC, my boy Trader Dank, and SC played a huge part in my life as well. Known the guy for a long time now, and was very, very fortunate to be part of his early stage development and mentoring. And I just think he's a wonderfully talented trader, as is Trader Dank, as is my boy Just Pit as well. Not many people using trend lines better than him. But for me, it's indicative, right? It's just showing that while we're setting these higher lows, price is just grinding up. This is the first real drop off that we've had here, and this really is, getting people excited. A little bit cautious here on total 3. We are coming into a little bit of resistance here. We can see a really strong resurgence here as well. This was a key area for us too, which I'll draw across. And again, big expansion, close above, nice retest, price pushing up. Just in my opinion, it's not the time to just get super horny on alts at the moment, right? So anyway, back to Ethereum. What's the playbook? I'm not sure that we get this, certainly back to this area here. But for me, this is the consolidation in here. This was the up move. This is where price consolidated before we lost this really key support level, right? We saw it as resistance through here, further back as well, resistance into here, and then look what happens. We had that nice expansion above. We've held this level super clean all the way through here, all the way through here, through here. And look at some of the moves that have materialized after this level's been engaged. I mean, look at that. Just dipped in, also wiped out this low here. I think actually, no, it didn't. Let's have a look. I'm surprised it didn't take that. I know it didn't. You know why? Because me and Raz were sat on a live show when we were looking for this actually back in February. And we were saying, this has got to hit, right? And price just took this level and just absolutely ran. We didn't get continuation off the back of it, but then very, very difficult with the current fundamental and macroeconomic drivers that we've got in the market. So long story short, daily plan, really, really simple. Now, there is a small chance here in terms of, well, not necessarily small either, I saw a tweet from a really, really good lad. I know he divides opinion, but Crypto Bitlord. I've known him for quite a few years now. Met him all around the world, especially in Dubai. The guy's done a lot for the space. He can be, the guy knows exactly how to play Twitter, and he knows exactly how to play people. Hell of a kickboxer as well, actually, and did very well in crypto fight nights against Korean Jew. But by the by, I saw a post from him this morning where he just said, stop waiting for pullbacks, just long. The market is littered with the corpses of people that are waiting for pullbacks. So for me, I'm actually a little bit more risk averse, right? But then I come from a trading background much more than an investor, and I'm not particularly a DJ in terms of the technology and that. I have wonderful teams of people that work around me that kind of provide all of that information, which I decant to look for levels from a technical perspective, right? So this is of interest though, right? Because we've got this order block here, down close candles as price moves higher. When you see these consolidations, look for these down close candles. You want to see these respected, right? That's respected through there. That's respected through there. Big expansion above here. All of these giving you a really good opportunity to get in the market. Same for the up close candles, right? Or the bullish candles. When when price is trending down, look for these, to keep the market lower. And when you stop closing below these, and then you start to shift the narrative, like this nice strong breakout here, you can always check as well with breakouts, right? You just want to see a little bit of rising volume typically. I know you guys don't normally see this from me. I really do focus very, very heavily in intraday trading. But when I'm positioning these, look at the big volume spikes. And yes, there's a big volume spike in terms of a bearish spike, but often these big spikes here, when you're looking for price to be pushed down, I'm looking at those in terms of manipulation, in terms of the market being forced into those positions, triggering stop losses, engaging key liquidity pools and areas, supply and demand, depending on which side of the market you're attacking. But then when you see this breakout here, what's quite noticeable for me is look at the volume just increasing here. Let's turn the MA off for a minute, just so, because the MA, you can put it on, different times and bits and pieces to show how aggressive it is. But this breakout here, we can clearly see a rise in volume, all right? So for me, that's interesting as we get this move through here. Again, look at what goes on here. We see the rising volume here. In the same vein, right, that when you're looking up here, All right, what we're looking for, you see this sustained level of high volume. It's kind of chopping around here a little bit. Then it starts to come up, but look at the bearish volume start to increase here. If we look at these 3 candles specifically from here, look at this increase, right? Now, yes, you're already down at this point by the time that's confirmed, but that's no problem. You don't just short down here. Wait for those pullbacks. You're either short here or you're short here, all right? So just a little something. I know I don't cover volume a lot, but it's just impossible to kind of do everything on these shows. But a lot of people also asking about those. Yeah, sure, mate. Desync. Sounds like a 90s band, doesn't it? SYNC. So anyway, here we are. So with bearing in mind what we've just discussed there in terms of order blocks, there is a third case scenario. I will update this later, but for me, it's much more of an intraday play. I'm not looking to build swings from here just because I think that, you've got defined risk here. If you want to build a swing from here, absolutely go ahead, because, price down here, the risk for me is that we come down to fill these inefficiencies, maybe wick into these, retest this area, and then we rip. However, market can leave you behind very, very easily. We've got this cluster of equal highs across here, which I think is a beautiful initial target. And then look at this. If you secure yourself there, you're almost at 1.5R. Obviously, that's not the overall target for this. We're, aiming for all-time highs here. But if I was looking to build a swing, then I think that's absolutely a legitimate play. I'm very, very interested to see what price does here as we drive into these inefficiencies. And again, something that we can cover. I'll probably put a thread out about this. Looking at these areas of consolidation before you see strong downside moves, yeah? Or looking at these areas of consolidation like this when you see strong upside moves, yeah? So you can just make it a lot simpler for yourself than you're probably already doing. And not to say that it's easy, because the TA technically is the easy part. It's the conviction that becomes quite difficult. One of the other things I would say is if you map these areas out, we're looking at this down move here, right? I know I covered this on the last show, but I do want to cover it again because it's very important in terms of how I look to build these positions. So this area I'm expecting to act as support. So I would, I would be an active buyer back here. That I think, I definitely was on ETH. We covered it on the previous shows, but we'll look at the crypto market cap, the crypto cap charts as well, the crypto index charts, sorry, which is the one we give our continued TA on. If I'm looking for this and I'm expecting a bounce, if I don't see this materialize, then I see this area left and then retested, this becomes an area of mitigation, right? I used to study this heavily with SC, really kind of changed my thought process on this. Looking at prior consolidations that led to bullish moves, if you leave these and lose these, you start to set, for example, like a bearish order block, as we did here. Yeah, so let me just get that back on the chart there, right? So what did we do? We mitigated that area. Price came down, retested this, and we sold off. Simple, right? Well, no, not necessarily. You need to wait for confirmation, right? So this area here, which is the low of this order block, yeah, what did this do? This tested up here, first of all, into a bearish gap. That's in an area of mitigation. We also have key resistance here because it was support all the way through. We see as we draw that across, that area got tagged as well. So just think of this as a giant area of resistance. And if you want confirmation, wait for the order block and then you come in. Ultimately, you've got a decent risk to reward, even if you're playing the highs and lows. Order block retest here. Stops if you want to above the high or above the order block because the order block's been set. And again, look, what you get out of this? Almost 3R. Yes, the market's reversed on you, but you would have I would have absolutely been targeting these lows here. Any form of flat lows or even this one here, you can see price ran into both. Great places to take profits. And if this thing was going into oblivion, then you can leave it there, right? And just let it run. If not, you've taken some profit. Say you take half off the table at 3R. You've made 1.5R. Okay, the rest didn't work out for you, but it's gone. I would recommend a slightly better profit-taking strategy than that, but that's ultimately up to you, my friends. But that's the key idea, right? And this is the principles that we're going to overlay now in the next 40 minutes as we rip through a load of other charts. Craigie boy, how you doing? I know, mate, work is a pain in the ass for that, isn't it? So let's get rid of this now anyway. So I'm looking at this down here. Let's move to a 4-hour chart and see if we got more context, right? So this was actually a live trade we were in yesterday on ETH. Let me just shelve that though, because you don't care about that. Well, you do if you missed out on it, but if you did, then just come and join the group. It's literally peanuts for the amount of value you get from it. I don't even shill it really, but if you are interested, you can come and have a look. Details should be in the description. It's the Burb Nest. Probably, without doubt, one of the most profitable trading groups out there with a professional trading team, completely transparent trades, everything that you want. You get access to the trading team, private channels, insights, everything, fundamental analysis, technical analysis, volume profiling, courses on all of the above, all run by traders that just trade full time, not degens that are sat in their pants in somebody's basement telling you to long, I don't know, dog Bitcoin or something. Right, not to say there aren't very good ones of them out there. There's some exceptional ones, the gem hunters out there as well. We've got some of them working with us, and there's some outside of our network as well. Not network, but friends, people like Crypto Kazi as well, who's just an absolute gem. Been following this guy really recently called Hardy, who's just absolutely bossing it as well. So, you know, surround yourself with good people. Anyway, this is quite a key area for me here. All right, on ETH, I think we've come back in. We've tested this now, right? This, as I was saying before, was a key battleground, so we can see why we were looking at that. If we draw that across as well, we've got, this was resistance, resistance, strong close above it. A little wick below this, hold this area here. Yeah, so as we've done here, get back up, nice little structure recovery. And then I think we can make some moves higher here, all right? And we know we've got those equal highs resting up here, so that's what we're going to look at. If I wanted to make this a trade, right, then first of all, I would either look for key trading patterns at these levels, right? So one of my favorites is like morning and evening stars, for example, which I thought this was kind of going to be, but then we closed this as a pin bar. Let me see if I'll find you a good example of a morning star pattern, kind of this. I mean, it's a little bit of a ropey doji, but what you want is typically a bit of a larger bodied candle like this, followed by a doji and then an expansion candle that takes out at least 50% of the body of the down thrust candle here. Just an absolute beaut of a pattern. But like with a lot of pattern trading, obviously, you need to know the different ones in and out, because they're not always as easy to spot here, especially in crypto. Actually, this is a good one, kind of a little bit excessive, but it did lead to a massive move, yeah? Large down candle, doji, large expansion candle, obviously blitzed through 50% of that. Really, really good show. The quickest way to do it, and quickest isn't always the best, obviously, is to look for engulfing candles, right? So, for example, if we get this candle here, so we're at a level of support, we know where our risk is, yeah? We've had a nice drive down into this area. So now, if this candle closes here as a nice large bullish candle, right? Bullish engulfing at support, bullish market conditions, macro outlook is pretty tasty for risk. Clear and obvious target here, around about 1.8R, where we can mitigate. Higher time frame target up here, where we can look to move in. If you take a look at key areas of support and resistance, yeah, for example, if we look at this as an area of resistance, well, let's take a look at the engulfing candles, yeah. See a beautiful sweep on liquidity here, nice up close candle here. What is this? Bearish engulfing candle. What did it lead to? A big sell-off, yeah. Now, if we look across here, right, if we want to put in some form of SR in here, probably something like this, because it includes this downward wick here. We see all the wicks into this area, strong close above, retest of this before price moves higher. Right, as we look at this area, price dives in here, no engulfing candle, no reversal pattern here, yeah. Price dives back in again, doesn't take liquidity, which surprised me from this low, but you can see it with crypto where it's a little bit more liquid, all right. And then down candle, large bullish engulfing, happy days. Again, you know where your risk is. Your risk's below the swing, because once we see this, if it comes back for it, then fine, just cut the trade. Or, well, you shouldn't cut the trade, you should have a stop loss below there. But that's where you are going to be wrong. Another move that I like to see at these levels are gap inversions, right? The gaps exist. Think of it like this, right? A really simple way to think about this is when you see a gap, 3 candle pattern, 1, 2, 3, the gap between, if it's a bearish gap, the low of candle 1 to the higher candle 3. If you're looking for a bullish gap, yeah, then it's the high of candle 1, candle 2 to the low of candle 3, and you see the gap between the wicks. Market loves to rebalance these areas, right? So that's what we're looking for. When we see inversions of these gaps, henceforth we had a bullish gap here, but closed below it here, that's when we're seeing basically support turn to resistance, and we look to short these. All right, just to give you a little bit of insight into how I trade these models. Let me get rid of that in a minute, because that's our intraday system that's focused on trading the liquidity of Asia's range, but that's a very, very different story. Euk Flon, hello mate, welcome, love that name. Right, so let's stop pissing about, and I'm going to get through, let's spend 30 minutes ripping through these, shall we? So we're going to start with our old friend Creddy. Why am I excited about Creddy? I've been posting about this aggressively. I posted about it here, saying that I was adding coming into these lows, like the fact we started to hold this area, right? Notice how when you just kind of look at the chart here, you see this dive lower, right? Then you see this move up. These are often the corrected move before price moves lower. It just really struggled to get back below this level here, right? I don't think we have much data back here, but actually look at it below this. Look at all the resistance through this area. Always look for these long upside wicks where the absorption's coming in, where are the sellers strong. These areas are never going to be perfect, right? But you know, if you were long in these breakouts and short in the breakdowns, you'd probably do all right. Big winner there. You know, maybe you get trapped in here. Yeah, maybe you get trapped here. You got 2 losers off the back of a good winner, but then look at the breakout there. You've made 10x on your losses, right? You've engaged this level here, broken up. You've got another loser, but you're back below. When strength turns to weakness, confirmation, the market's tipping its hat that it's going lower, all right? Again, maybe you get trapped here. What happens if you get trapped? Well, all of these breakouts, if they're failing you, yeah, then what are they? They're deviations, all right? And then you're making money on the way down. So you lose a bit of money on the way up, but you're making money on the way down. But then when you do get these breakouts, they're beautiful, right? And something that I always recommend to students is when you're looking for these breakout scenarios, once you've got your good support and resistance, when price has this initial break up here, don't just long that. First of all, look for a strong move higher. Don't look for wicks. But even with that, mark the higher, wait for price to do that. All right. And how many of these would it have saved you for? Didn't get above that, so you didn't get stopped out. What happened here? Price gets back above, boom. Up, retest, pump. All right. A lot of people just don't have the patience. Yeah. So what happens? Price gets above here. Does it get above that? No. Price breaks below here. Does it get below? No. Secondary break below, which it does. What does it do? Holds this area and sells off. Where's your risk? Above here. Yeah. So even if you were taking that as a short trade on the retest, risk above these highs, exactly where did you get to before this thing shanked you? 1.2. So maybe you lost that anyway, but the game is all about taking these hits, right? And just accepting when you're wrong. I've seen some guys, you know, with 25% win rates over a month, absolutely crush it. But then what happens is you get the breakout. What happens again? I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just so you have context for the other trades. Price doesn't exceed that high, doesn't exceed that high, right? Breaks down below here. Yeah, and also with this one, gets trapped in below here, price sells off lower, okay? So if you're just waiting to long things, wait for the break above. Did we exceed that? No, we didn't. Let me zoom in for you a little bit. Yeah, we didn't, so that's irrelevant. Then we poke our head above it again. What happens? Close above it, yeah, retest, boom. You are going to make more money on your winners than you will on your losers, typically, especially if you're getting the market conditions right. So anyway, that aside, just to give you a little insight into how I do them. Nick, my friend, how are you doing? Good to see you. So that was basically the play in here. So now what I'm looking for here are key inflection points that I want to see held. And I mentioned this gap here on Creddy. So buyers of Creddy down here worked really nicely, added again at the gap, then order blocking on the way up, pyramiding into this. And then I said to you, if you've missed this move, wait for the resistance through here, strong breakout above, retest. This box is in green because it was so effing important. Why? Because on the breakout above that we had here, it was just so clean. On that pin bar candle here, yeah, there were 2 entries here that I was interested in. The bullish engulfing, which we didn't take, purely because the risk to reward wasn't great. We didn't have a clean low. And this gap down here, I was worried that the gaps would be engaged with. Now, I've then got 2 choices, right? I can wait for the break above this level and then I can go back in, or I can wait for a retest with a bullish candle. And this is just a beautiful candle to get at support, a bullish pin bar, right? You want to look for these at any form of support. Here's one. Yes, price consolidated afterwards, but led to a nice rip because it's showing you the body of the candle that's at the top. And what the buyers achieved. The wick shows you what price tried to achieve. So, for example, yeah, what do we see here? We see a small corrective move. Price tries to get back into a trend. Yeah, look, Watch your candles. When price has this expansion, yeah, we're not long from here. You're either long from down here or you're waiting for some form of confirmation, right? So what happens? We have the corrective move. Then we get the doji. Things are looking interesting. Doji candles tell you that there's indecision. Indecision often leads to corrective moves, right? So look, bearish pin bar here. Yes, it's a bullish body candle, but look at the wick. Yeah, it's like an inverse hammer. Price comes into this, we then get a corrective move. No problem, we're now expecting expansion. However, the doji candle here represents that price is ready to move up. Yeah, so this is a good area to take longs on the lower time frame. We step into our long positions here to move for these highs. But what gets us cautious here is this doji. Hardly anybody at all, almost both wicks equidistant, all right? It also sets an inside bar pattern, which I'm not going to go through now. You can study that pattern. It's attached to the top of my Twitter profile, all right? I'm just going to draw you the mother bar. Basically, it's a pattern where you see two candles. Large candle here, second candle closes the high and low within its range. Both then become a range of its own right. Okay, so let's draw both of these in. The smaller one is the inside bar range, the larger one's the mother bar range. And this tells you a lot. What happens? Close outside the inside bar, expect lower prices. Close outside the mother bar, look for the retest and price to sell off, all right? What happens if we deviate and close back within? We chase the other side of the range. There's a full explanation on how to understand that pattern, how to spot them and how to trade them pinned to the top of my Twitter profile if you are interested, all right? But look what happens, doji candle. So we don't expect indecision here, right? Yeah, look at this run up. So similar to this, right? Engage a key level, price runs up. Look at this, corrective move, doji candle, price moves up, right? There's then no further doji. That's kind of semi-doji, but a longer downside wick. But either way, yeah, expansion above this high. So there's the high, there's the low. Look for expansion above the high, set the order block. Another doji, no problem. You just don't want to then see price then break down because then we would expect price to head lower. We then get a big engulfing candle. We're not interested in the engulfing candle the other way because we're not at our key point of resistance, right? This engulfing candle that sets this order block is then your go time signal to get involved. Again, if you miss these moves here, you wait for this, you wait for the retest, price moves up. So look at this, corrective move lower. What do we get? Doji candle, bullish engulfing, inverted this gap, right? Gap inversion. This is an area we look to form support. It's also a balanced price range. Why? Bearish gap, close through with a bullish gap. We expect this area to offer strong support. This is why I'm interested in credit here, all right? But I would still like to see either a bullish engulfing candle coming into here, a nice bullish pin bar, all right? Or, like we said, something like a morning star pattern. So credit's looking really, really tasty here. I'm a happy buyer of this lower, and I think they're doing really, really big things. I don't, there's no projects I bring to you that I'm not either personally invested in on a business level, but most of these are what I'm trading, yeah, or adding to spot bags. Anyway, next one I wanted to show you before we go on to this one is Vert AI, because this was an early call from me, right? You can go back through Twitter or you can check the reports. Buyer here. This is one of the cleanest charts for me because as I look back here, I'm always looking, where's the key points of support and resistance, right? So for example, you see we've got this wick here. Yeah, see this wick. So that obviously capped the market, and it capped the market for a reason. This is where the sellers were like, yeah, okay, buyers are strong here, but sellers were considering their position. Price was consolidating, generating some liquidity. What happens? We build up these beautiful downside wicks, nice pin bar followed by bullish engulfing. That's a legit entry for me there. Would have got stops on this one because we swept out these lows. Then what happens? We then get the corrective move lower, doji candle, large bullish expansion candle, long for your life, and then you're just smashing that. So that's a key level. The same reason this was a key level for me, because this was the high that capped the market here until we had a breakout by this beautiful pin bar candle that led to higher. So if we draw both of them across, yeah, look, when price comes back to these areas, they are not magic lines on a chart. It's human psychology printed in front of you. It's showing you where buyers and sellers were relevant. What's the first thing that you see from people when they're involved in the markets, good, bad, or ugly? They're looking for historic price action. What did people do previously? What trading systems worked really well before? What narratives ran really hot? When alt season? All of this stuff, right? We typically find this by studying historical data, and humans are creatures of habit. These things don't often change that much. So anyway, this isn't a brag, but we've been involved from here. Members have also been involved from here. You can go and see a post that I got out on Twitter. I really should share this stuff more often, to be honest. I probably have a lot more followers, but for me, it's just about really kind of sharing this stuff with you guys, just in the hope that we just have this absolute army of financially independent people who can one day totally fuck the government, because they're just a bunch of kiddie fiddling nonsense, in truth. If we look at it, either that or they're just far too incompetent typically to run the world, especially here in Britain. Twats like Rachel Reeves in charge of the country, meeting world leaders. How embarrassing is that for any proud British person and any person of any country, right? I'm very, very strong believer in freedom of movement. You just have to bring value with you, but there's also people out there in the world that need help. Collectively, as a world, we should help protect those people. We need to just stop taking a massive dump on the middle and lower classes. You know, we need these other people to step up. Anyway, politics show coming soon. The narrative was very clear. We swept liquidity here, failed to displace below this. This gap's doing its job beautifully. We swept a gap low here. That's a swing low within it, or a gap or a low within a fair value gap. Also this low, nice strong recovery, got back above here. What did we see? Right, I know, broken record time, right? You got a beautiful bullish engulfing candle here, and you also have a beautiful pin bar candle here. Both of these give you opportunities to step in the market. I know that's on a daily scale. If you want more confirmation, this is the candle that closed above. So Friday's candle here, if we now move to an execution time frame, we move back to Friday. How could we have got involved in the markets using exactly the same methodology, right? Well, here's your morning star pattern. I know it's a little bit of a ropey one again, because you've got probably want a larger down close candle here, and that needs, no, we're not calling that a morning star. I tell you why, because that needs to be more of a doji, but I do really like a pin bar followed by an engulfing. And a very dear friend of mine, Bast, wonderful trader who used to be a part of our trading team over at TBM, was exceptional at these type of patterns, right? So again, what are we looking for? You just want price to be holding this area, yeah? Pin bar, engulfing, that's a solid long from there, right? And then we see the corrective move lower, no problem, price correcting. We don't get any telltale dojis on here, right? Which again, isn't an issue. We get a bullish engulfing here whilst we're holding a bullish gap, right? So why is this a good trade? Well, quite simply, you've got clearly defined risk. You're right, anything above this. Price comes back to take out this low, then you just need to reconsider. You're already, I mean, you can't always expect price to run like this, but you're already 4R up, and I know members have been absolutely killing it. I really don't do a lot of swing trading anymore. I'm trying to find the time to get back into it. You know, my bros, Just Pitt, who's one of the best swing traders out there. You've got about 5 followers, I think, on X, by the way. In fact, let me show you his account, because he is so fucking good. And literally no one knows about him. I don't know why I'm telling you this, actually, because typically people should pay for this kind of information, but not pay for this information, but pay for this kind of alpha that he shares. But let me just show you this very quickly, right? This guy. Just follow this guy, please, for the love of God. Just learn from him. I learn from him. Just unbelievable, just understanding of levels, liquidity, volume. And not just that, a total degen. Guy spends 14, 15, 16 hours a day in the trenches. I think when I get to the end of like a 14, 15 hour down, I'm burnt out. And then I get a message from Pitt saying, look at this. And then we've got the analysts on the chat, we've got the people at TV, and we're like, right, we need to be involved in this. A great gem hunter, just a fantastic account, really, really top guy, and just a wonderful Polish legend as well. All right. So look, it doesn't affect me. I think it's insulting to him that he's got 2,200 followers when there's people out there that really don't know their ass from their elbow, that are rolling like 100K plus. But my suggestion to you is find good people like this, and he's a really, really great guy. So if you do get the opportunity, give him a follow. He'll really help you. He got me into RAI really early. Before that, did like 700% move, etc. Anyway, so where are we with this? Vert's just looking really good. I don't know what else to tell you. Again, if we're looking for aggressive plays, we can look here and look at the daily order block to hold. Yeah. Nice expansion. Again, bullish engulfing. We just tickled into this gap down here as well, which I really like. And again, you see the long downside wicks forming, showing that upside momentum is looking quite positive. We always just want to sneak a little look across here. And we see Bitcoin just managing to recover now as well. ETH up from the lows. Equity markets ripping. Just looks like it wants to just tear faces off again. And you know what? If you're wrong here and you take a position, don't worry about it. Trading is all about being wrong. Yeah, it really, really is. And I really mean that. Best traders in the world are people that come to terms with being wrong, or happen to be wrong often, but have systems, strategies, and proven methodology that allows them to be profitable over time. Don't chase 100x overnight. You're just going to get hurt. Right, and leverage will really mess you up as well, because most of you won't understand how to use it. It should be for margin and position sizing, right? Not so that you can think that you can put $20 in an account and buy a Lambo tomorrow. So that move there, down into that, order block set, happy to play an aggressive play for that. If not, this order block down here hasn't been retested, and this is another area I would look to long. I really like this area here as well, because again, focusing on the downside wicks of this, if we draw this across here, what have we got? Beautiful daily support resistance area. Yeah, that's the strong close above. So price coming into this would be a thing of beauty. Right, so we covered ETH, we covered Credit, Vert, AI. What else do we say we look at? Let's take a look at Solana. Then we've got AI, 16Z, CRV, and Desync, if anybody else is in there. Glad you're enjoying the rant, boys. Yeah, kiddie fiddler is one of my absolute favourite terms for these nonces that, I don't know, just need to stick them all in a big vat of acid, didn't you, and get them out of the gene pool. Right, so let's take a look at our old friend, shall we? Look at these squiggles. That's like a Jackson Pollock, doesn't it? But a bit more geometric. So again, we've had a nice narrative here for this. You know, ultimately charts always look good in a bull market. You can draw lines pretty much anywhere, but that's why I want to explain the narrative behind it to you guys. Again, look at this key inversion. Why was this gap key? It was rebalanced here, but the area in general is one that I'm not looking to trade short from. I'm looking for this area to be reclaimed. All right, because look, resistance, 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 pop, breakout. What do we get? Price moving down, bullish engulfing, price moving up. Yeah, almost into resistance. Doji, bullish engulfing, beautiful, nice entry here. You know, a little bit of a long stop here, but you can probably be a bit aggressive with this one and go underneath the order block, because that's definitely been set with these two here. Wouldn't expect it to push down into these lows, not if this inversion is valid. And then from there, you know, just make life simple for yourself. Monitor the bullish gaps. You'll see these as grey on my chart. I'm just doing these so it's, you know, indicative. And also this order block here. We never got the order block, but the downside wicks here tell you buyers are looking to step in. Now, this was a particularly tricky one to catch on a daily scale, because the corrective move and the breakout was so aggressive, and you can see it here. You know, obviously, when we pop the volume on, that's not working for some reason. All right, fuck you, volume. That's all right, doesn't really matter. But look, there would be a high volume spike there, you can just tell. But now this is the area that I'm really looking for price to hold here, all right, on Solana. Equal highs up into this gap. We've got a slight consolidation up here that led to that big move lower. And, you know, again, I know this wasn't massively well respected here, but I do believe, in my opinion anyway, that there was at least a wee bit of manipulation going on here. And anyway, it closed above. It didn't hold there for long, did it? This was the bearish order block that was keeping the market suppressed, led to a huge move lower. Price deviated this and then sold off aggressively. So remember what I was talking about in terms of mitigation. Look for these key prior consolidations here. You want to see price holding these on a bullish scale and then moving away. And this area here is what I want to see hold. All right, so mitigated area, downside wicks coming into this. Sellers aren't there, or it would have just V-shaped, crap the bed. All right, and I agree, Evil Gemini, I don't. Just Pit is great. He's a really, really massive asset, become a very, very good friend. He's a wonderful human being. And also, like me, he used to be in great shape and he's got a bit fat. So you won't mind me telling you, just a smidge like me. So we're both trying to get ourselves back in shape. So I'll just pop him a message in a minute and tell him I called him fat in front of 3,500 people on Twitter. But he's not fat. He's a big, solid lump of a guy. You know, like they make them in Poland, don't they? These big, bare mofos that are just, you know, got bodies that our British chums would, you know, we're more of a wiry and aggressive race. I'm not, I'm a bit of a lump myself, but just not a very refined one at the moment. So we're above this level, into this order block. As long as we hold here, bang, let's go. If we start to break down, we start to get closes into here. Intraday, I'm interested in this low, possibly a chance that we come back to rebalance this gap here if we really push. Yeah, he's gonna kill me, isn't he? Right, so as we go, that's really, really simple, right? So Solana holding up, watch the memes. Memes have been very, very strong in this cycle, right? I know most of them don't have any value. Look for the ones with utility, look for the ones with incredibly vibrant, active communities, and just rip. the living hell out of those. All right, so watching that, I think this leads to the pump. If we want to see this on a slightly lower time frame, yeah, 4 hours looking quite nice here. Yeah, bearish engulfing here and a bearish pin bar fire. Holding this gap and holding this level is key for me. Look at the upside wicks. We now want to see that flipped to support, right? So again, confirmation for me here comes in the form of, hopefully, I'd really like to see this finish as more of like a doji type candle and then get a bullish engulfing above here, risk below here, soul to the moon. So AI 16Z. Let's have a look at this bad boy, shall we? So zooming out here, what have we got in terms of clear support resistance? I mean, not much really here on a weekly scale. What I do really like on a weekly is this. There's the weekly order block. Here's the weekly gap that was causing issues for price that no longer is. Resistance, resistance, closed above. This is now an inversion. See how we're stacking support down here. I love this high. This high just screams liquidity. So we've got a really nice draw on price high. This is where your real major players, people that have resources, intelligent, and people at their disposal that most of us will never even be able to dream about. That's where they're going to sell, right? Or that's certainly where they're going to want to sell or mitigate or take some off the table. So that's a great target driving price higher. Again, kind of looking at this area here as well, because this is the down candle that ultimately at the moment, this is kind of the bearish area. I'm not paying too much into this at the minute. I'm more interested on the recovery that we have here, the inversion we have here. But this here, if we close above this, that becomes an area of mitigation. Then I'm very, very interested. On a daily scale, things are looking really nice here as well. Again, broken record time for you all, but this is where we got the inversion, right? So nice deep purple box here to match this one. Look at all the long downside wicks here as well. Again, this is, I would have loved to have seen this on the daily. Large downwards move, doji, and then an expansion to give us a morning star, but we didn't get it, which is absolutely fine. And then obviously doji, there was a real indecision here, and then just the pop didn't really give us the chance to get in too much. But this little cluster of highs that we saw rejection within here, you know, now looking to kind of add this area as support, right? So if we just look at this, yeah, resistance, strong close above, retest here. So we'd expect price to move up from here. If not, I think we can come back down into this area. So I'm going to mark that down in there. The other thing that we could be looking at here is the fact that this order block here never got retested. So let's draw that in as well. In terms of confirmation, we seem to be having a little bit of a rejection here. Again, like big up close candle here that led to that really big move lower. So again, it's where the sellers were before, and it's a really, really good place for smart people to take profit. Yeah, so I think let's reassess when we get down to here. Wouldn't surprise me to see maybe this low taken out, depending on what we get in terms of narrative. We've not got any real key news drivers in the market today, but we do have PPI tomorrow, right, that we'll be keeping an eye on. As we're looking at this at the minute, you know, we see gold still remains down, dollar's still flat. The VIX is, yeah, in and around where we want it to be. So our risk indicators are low, meaning that we've got room to the upside for risk to expand. We see the equity markets. And when I say equity markets, I'm really focused on these. You call them indices. No one in this industry knows really what they are, or indexes, but I'm talking about the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones typically. So we have these here. These are all looking good. Yesterday, we saw a similar thing, right, where we saw these call off. These really started to rip. And then we got the CPI print that was actually pretty flat overall, but still leaning marginally positive for risk. And the market's just tore, right? So that's what we're looking for here. And that's what I'm looking for on A16Z. Let's take a look at it on the 4 hour, and then we'll look at some hourly setup plans as well. Again, look, we see as we move into here, lovely little setup this, right? Now, overall, this hasn't worked so far, but look, if you just find traders and stuff like that only show you things that they're winning, then they're absolutely full of it. And not the people you want to follow. You want to follow the people that are backing up their, you know, what they're telling you with keeping the charts, looking at live trades, giving you live statistics and bits and pieces like that, which is what we try and do. And there's some others out there that do it particularly well too. So here we have the move, right? So we had the corrected move lower, and then prices kind of stopped, consolidated here. This is the doji. This is the moment that tells you, okay, things may be getting ready to move. There's your engulfing candle, right? And here's your long position. We'll look at targets in a minute. You know, obviously we've got some really key upside targets here as we look across to the left. This one kind of being the first, that key kind of swing higher. So I definitely have been kind of looking at that in truth. I think that was a good position to take there. You got up to around about 1.8, so you can always mitigate about 1.5. If you had done, you'd be stopped out now looking for new opportunities. For me, looking at this from here, we've had this expansion, but it's kind of come from nowhere really. So I'd like to see these lows get taken out down here or this. And again, looking for one of those key patterns. This is actually a really nice evening star pattern here. Large expansion, doji candle, large move to the downside. Yeah. So again, just a little bit more reason as to why I think this could be coming down to take out these lows. But let's see. I think we've got a really, really nice area down here. And again, if you want to be super aggressive, then yeah, I'd be very cautious here anyway. You've got a lot of gaps on the way down. I would just, again, look for these areas to be mitigated, right? This is the up move that led to the sell-off. Price establishing itself above here. You've got no more gaps in here. In fact, price has got a pretty clear run here on the hourly up to this high. Yeah, so if you get a good close above this, you invert this gap, you invert this gap, you get back above here. Look for price to do something like this. Get yourself involved here. Hopefully you've got a clear risk below here, yeah? So maybe price kind of moves below. All right, but ideally you want to see this area hold. Okay, CRV. Let's have a look if we've done much on CRV on this chart. No, we haven't, but my God, that looks good, doesn't it? So let's have a look at this down here. So on a weekly scale, we're just, I believe we've just inverted this. So let's take a quick look. Boom, there we go. Inverted this, so now we want to see this area hold on a weekly scale. Okay, again, a nice little morning star here at the lows, large expansion down, doji candle, expansion higher, gives you an indication the market's looking to move higher. That's just a typical reversal pattern. People kind of pay more attention to what color the doji is, bits and pieces. I've always just looked for a large body candle to the downside. You know, whether it's a bearish or bullish doji really shouldn't matter to you. The whole idea is that you've just got a centralized body and relatively equidistant wicks either side, all right? And then we get that nice reversal to the upside. Or from here, where you've got the down close candles, bullish engulfing, sets the order block. Really nice place. So now I want to see this hold anyway on a weekly scale. That's my key point of interest. On a daily scale, I'm just going to get rid of this for a minute because it's a little bit big and intrusive. On a daily scale, this is the area that I'm looking at quite closely, right? We've got the order block here, the continuation order block. This is where the sellers were trapped. Price came back above. This gives them a chance to mitigate and now step back in with the trend and move higher. One thing I would say from a liquidity perspective is we're building a lot of lows here. Now, obviously, we do that, set higher lows as we're moving up, but you can occasionally see those aggressive flashes down into here for any late longs that are involved. So, line in the sand for me, as long as we continue to hold this gap here. Yeah, so we've got this nice bullish gap. We can see how we have this stack support zone here. So once again, yeah, would have quite liked to have seen this. As you maybe the doji is a bit big, but a decent body candle, probably too long or upside wick. If this in the next 12 hours ends up being a nice engulfing candle, well, it wouldn't engulf because it's that, but a large body candle that closes above the 50% of this, probably consider taking a position here on CRV with stops below here or below this gap. Yeah, so quite simple there, that one. This is looking quite nice, actually, because we've got a couple of things going on here. I like the inversion gap on the 4 hour. Again, look, we're holding a key area here, so there's no reason price shouldn't move up from here. We've got a bullish gap here, which is looking really good. So we can see how we've got this little stacked support here. All right, again, we'd like to see a little bit of a purge deeper into this, maybe retest this area and then have a nice bullish engulfing candle that can take us to clear out these highs here and ultimately make the start of a decent swing position, I think, here as well. Because if this area is going to hold, at the moment, it's got a little bit of a feeling of like a power of three, right? So consolidation, manipulation, and we look for this expansion. All right. If we come down, we violate this inversion here and this bullish gap, then I think we start to clear out these lows and then a little bit lower. But again, market's not really made for shorting at the moment. We'll leave that on there, see how that gets on for the next session. So we're going to finish up on desync. Let's have a look. God, I mean, lovely set of lows in here, right? And look at this. And the way the bodies, the reason I anchored this to the body here is it just seems so clean, right? This whole area has basically been respected, and you can even just anchor it actually on there with you. Yeah, slight close below it here, and okay, this was a bit ugly, but look at the volume close down here. I think our volume's not enjoying life at the moment, is it? So it's all right, we'll change that out later. Yeah, so I always hear SC's voice in my head. Deviation, breakout here, yeah. So again, really kind of want to see this area hold. So he moves down to here, I think, for buying to move higher. I think that high is probably the first real point of interest. If we achieve that, I'll leave that on there actually. I know it's going to be a bit squiggly as we move to the lower time frames, but that's the key. So we want to see this as the deviation. This thing has had an absolute rip. Oh, no, I didn't mean to add that. Not that I've got anything against this, but get rid of it on the object tree. There we go. What I want to do very quickly is get rid of this because it's obviously not working, and then I want to add it back. And hopefully it remembers me nice, grey, and like, no, I don't know why it's being a dick. The data vendor doesn't provide it. Oh, okay, no, that's fine. Right, whatever. So as we go under here, oh, okay, USD economy, we obviously want to, futures one's a lot better. So as we've deviated this level here, and look at this breakout, by the way. Just an absolute beauty, isn't it? Right. So again, that's not really giving you much opportunity to step in here, but we did see our doji, slightly longer tail wick, giving you even more than this expansion. Difficult to get in on these candles though, right? But as I'm looking across here again, if I just focus little bits of bodies and wicks and stuff and look at these key areas, yeah, it's just a rough box, right? You can do it so it includes this wick as well, right, to the bottom of that. But look, support, 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 always trying to lead to these big pumps. What happens? Big move down, yeah? Look at the large move below. Retest, sell off, retest, sell off, retest, sell off. Big move above. This is a key area for me here on this asset to hold. I quite like that. A little bit of a volume imbalance here, not really a problem. Maybe a wick down into this bullish gap. Yeah, but ultimately I think the markets are very bullish at the moment. So, you know, just got to decide on your risk profile. Let's have a look at what we got. Doji candle here, followed by a potential bullish engulfing here on the 4 hour. Might not be the worst entry. You could get really aggressive with your risk and put it below there, looking to get protection from the lows of the order block with this being closed above. Yeah, interesting actually. I've got a little bit of interest in this, I have to say. I mean, you could go even more aggressive and put your stop under there. Remember, this trade would be reliant on there being a big close above. Matthew, in there at the last gasp, mate. Sure, no worries. We'll finish off on link. Moving up to there. So that's quite a nice play, I think. But remember, don't take that trade. Just it's based on the doji, consecutive dojis, and then we need a bullish engulfing. So this candle needs to look like this. Right? Otherwise, no trade here. All right. And again, don't copy me. None of this is financial advice. Just some bloke from London rattling on about charts. So yeah, really good. I think it looks really nice. I don't think we need to dive any lower on that. I think as long as we hold this level, we're building a lot of liquidity here. If you're one of these excellent breakout traders or, you know, trend line traders or whatever, find your best level of fit. Wait for this, look for a high volume expansion above it, and then, you know, try your luck. Link. Wasn't a bad move, was it that? All right, we got it. We were out by 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, right? But the idea is the same, right? Price driving into a key level. Why is this a key level? Just look at it. for me, it just really makes a lot. I know it's a weekly scale, it's a much bigger area than I would normally draw in, right? But large expansion above this area can just hold price the whole way through. We didn't get any body closes below here. Whole area through here was resistance. Strong close above, held this. Deeper move into this, because really I was messing about with this with Link for a while, and I was thinking, right, what really kind of embodies Link here? Because I like that level. This high, yeah, that's a great level. You see we wicked into this here, but we've seen decent reactions here from this level. We also saw a deep hold of here. It's not all, or it's not often one that I would really kind of look to draw an area because it's so bloody large, but that's what I'm looking for in here. And you'll see when we move to the daily, actually, let me show you this as well, because this is an area that I'm interested in. Abnormal wick high. Yeah, really, really long wick here that led to all that selling pressure lower. And I don't think, let's have a look at lows, 10, 110. Yeah, 170, just didn't take that. So again, you've just had that from a little micro low there. You've had that large expansion. So, you know, I like that area there for a retest. I also like this area here. I would include the other order block in that as well, slightly smaller one that's just closed here. But anywhere from that and that kind of area, pullbacks here, I think are going to be a really good buying opportunity here in Link. That's really looking tasty at the moment. On the daily scale, we can see how we chase this all the way up. I know there's a lot of squiggles on here, right? But basically they represent, and again, I try to leave these charts unchanged for you so you can see, but either order blocks or bullish gaps. Order block, bullish gap. Order block, bullish gap. Look how much action you had chasing this higher. Why weren't you short here, BC? Because we're not bearish. We're just dropping into a massive effing bullish gap here, right? If we dropped, displaced, which we did with this gap here, yeah, and then we came up, respect that gap and dropped below it, I'll be short down here, but I'm not going to short this. This is a different kettle of fish. Large expansion here, immediately recovered, huge inversion, right? What then happens? What I said to you I was looking for here, price comes back and respects this bearish gap, inverts this one, so we trade it lower. We trade it lower. We get the expansion, so we look to trade it higher. When it breaks down with displacement, breaking market structure, which is this low here, we then trade it this way. So yeah, I'm probably wrong in here, right? But then I'm really right here, and I'm really right here. My swing trading differs massively from my intraday. My intraday is much more about my intraday, sorry, so that's a block, so I'm twat in the chat. But my intraday is a lot more about a higher win rate and taking aggressive profit very, very quickly, all right, building over time, right? Last year we did, annoyingly, fell about 3R short of 100 our return with members just on the live trading sessions over the 12 months, right? So again, little and often just grinding those. For here, I'm happy to be wrong for extended spells, because when I'm right for massively extended spells, and these pyramid positions you've got at the bottom and you're adding on the way up pay you really, really nicely, right? So that's the reason I was interested in that area. As we move into here, again, we can see this is the key level. Look, as we got that expansion, price is wicking back down into this area now. I like this bullish engulfing here, but the problem is it's come off the back of a really big doji, right? Like a really big doji. So I normally like to see these engulfing candles just a little bit bigger bodied here. There's kind of a bit too much wick both sides to be going aggressively long here. Not that I would typically long these patterns on the daily. I mean, I do for investments, but typically on the stock market. Let's look here at the 4 hour. 4 hour looks quite tasty actually, because we had that big candle on the way down. You got this kind of what is the pattern they used to call it? I don't want to mislead you here. I think it's called a three bullish soldiers or something like that. But basically, I think that candle body should be bigger. It should be bigger than the first one. But either way, you typically see these 3 candle patterns. You normally get at least a little bit of continuation. 1, 2, 3 here. Price did flush out to the lows. More of an indication for me how I use it intraday. Calvo, hello, mate. Great to have you with us. So, Link on the 4 hour. Like the fact we're holding this gap. Want to see us continue to hold this gap. Yeah, I like this long downside wick because it just tickled into this little gap here as well. It didn't quite rebalance it, but it's moving not too bad. Amigos, is that a chart you want me to check, right? Or I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure on it. Let me know. But then we're holding this here and then just really looking to push up. I think realistically, probably be a little bit more aggressive here on the hourly, because it's these two gaps here that are capping the market at the moment. I think if we get a nice expansion above this, inverting this, I think this is probably a good aggressive long position to take. But we could see lower. Don't just start aping into positions here. Safest play is to wait for these candles to be closed above. Yeah. And then look for the retest of this. And then jump on. Yeah. So aggressive plays from here, but really you want to see you don't want to, but if you see the order block set here, there's just nothing to stop it before here. It means you can, get a better, not a better entry, but ideally some good risk, and you've got a really, really good clean target. Right, legends, there's no real news to report to you today. We are Wednesday, 14th of May. We've got news hitting the Australian and Canadian markets, nothing particularly massive. Tomorrow, though, however, is a big, big day for the market. So let's just close off on this very quickly. Oh, the ticker, amigos. I don't know, mate. No, I'm not down with the kids, unfortunately. You'll probably know better than me, Nick. But definitely find out and let me know. I can throw that into future sessions if it's right. Might get some street cred and a few more followers. May, Thursday 15th, tomorrow, let's look at the markets here. Focus on the US markets and look how much news there is. Core PPI month on month, core retail sales month on month, PPI month on month, retail sales month on month, unemployment claims, UN Empire State Manufacturing Index, Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, right? Looking more on the manufacturing side, something that the US is trying to drive towards, henceforth. A lot of people saying the issues with China, they want to see more stuff being manufactured in the US. Difficult to break that price differential, I think, are not really the reason behind why that's happening. However, as the orange folder tells you, that's it. Oh, it's a pattern. The Three Amigos. For me, mate, the Three Amigos is a brilliant film with Steve Martin, a Chevy Chase. It's just, if you haven't seen it, just please watch the Three Amigos. Yes, I'm that old, but please go and do it. So I'm not as worried about these. You can tell by the orange fold news, especially in the fundamentally driven, which news is what I mean, driven market. This is the key. Powell is speaking, and the risk to the markets at the moment is that everything's running a bit hot. That brings inflation back into the picture. I think we've still got a decent road ahead of us, but he can come out and be quite hawkish tomorrow, which means bearish basically, and say things like, we're concerned about the economy. We're worried that inflation's rising its head again. We might not be looking to do as many rate cuts, etc. In which case you'll see quite a nasty contraction in the market. That's how they will throw a little bit of water on the fire before the rate cuts. And these are the things you need to be really, really aware of. You need to study this news, because often by the time of the cut, the markets have already priced in most of the preliminary data. So remember that as you go forward. All right, legends, wishing you all a fantastic week ahead. 3,500 of you live with me today. Thank you, and a big shout out to each and every one of you, and anybody that watches this channel. Please do hit the likes if you are watching on YouTube. It really, really does help. And please do give me a follow on Twitter at BC_Richfield. I will be posting even more actionable setups from now on. All right, talking about the swing positions, trying to guide you through the bull market with all my fam over at the Bird Nest as well. So big shout out to you all. Have a fantastic week ahead. I'll see you in the trenches. Those of you in the live trading session, I will see you in 12 minutes across on the charts. Take care, legends, and see you soon.